Hi, everybody, and welcome to Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance. And on this quick shot of romance, I am joined by the lovely Heather, who is one of our podcast contributors, and we are reviewing Manhunt by Vanessa Vale. Welcome back, Heather.
Hi, Leah. Thanks for having me.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and read the synopsis from Goodreads for us?
Absolutely. What's worse than spilling coffee all over my billionaire boss? Accidentally emailing him my answers to a sex quiz? That was me. I did that. I might be a genius, but that was really dumb. I sneak into the office to delete it, but it's too late. He knows my naughtiest fantasies. Instead of firing me, he wants to fulfill every one of them. He's everything I didn't know I wanted. Older, fiercely protective, and a possessive streak the size of Montana. But can he really want someone like me with a past full of man struggles and a head full of math problems? Find out the answer in this steamy small town romance where a nerdy heroine is outsmarted by a lumberjack-sized billionaire in a test of love. With all the books on a Manhunt series, it's always open season on men.
Okay, so this book came out December 27th, 2022. It is the tropes are small town, age gap, boss, employee, kind of coworkers, billionaire, and they definitely have an instant connection. This is the On a Manhunt series, and this is only book one of the series. So we don't know if they're going to be true standalones or not. But with the way Vanessa writes previous books that I've read, it should be a standalone, and it pops at 50%.
Yeah, and she, Becky and I did a happy hour with her after the release, and I have a feeling this is going to be a long series.
I'm so excited. So excited.
Same. Love it.
Well, excuse me, because the book itself, there's some world building in this book, but it's not so over the top that you're overwhelmed by the world building. But you're introduced to Maverick, and then you meet his four brothers. You meet Bridget's sister, Lindsay, her best friend, Mallory, but there's also like a lot of other side characters that you're introduced to, but you don't get a lot of like page time with, but you're really intrigued by those like couple paragraphs on the page.
Well, I also think she did a really great job of introducing us to the town.
Yes.
Because I feel like the town is really what the series is. It's not necessarily like a friend group or whatever. So it's really the town.
Yeah, the small town.
The series.
It is like full on small town. Like it is the like epitome of what a small town romance is.
Yeah, like somewhere where you just want to go.
So in the book, at the beginning of the book, and even like throughout the book, they talk about some 16 Candles references. And if you know what I'm talking about, some of you may not because you're not quite that old yet. But the 16 candle references and the whole sex like quiz in the first place, like is great. And I love it. And I love that nuance where you don't have to know what 16 candles is or like understand any of it to enjoy that part. But being a child of the 80s and loving those types of movies, like it gives it that much more like connection for me.
Right. Because Bridget is the heroine and she is, I think, like I don't love the word nerdy, but this girl is so smart. She's like a genius mathematician. I mean, this girl went to like MIT for math. It's not like we're not just saying, oh, she's smart. I mean, she's real smart. And her best friend she just is like this bubbly character. And they are doing like this girl time and they do this sex quiz. And I like being someone who was in my 20s, I mean, a while ago, but I can totally see them being like, oh, this is so fun. We got to talk about this at our girls' night or whatever. Very plausible.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I love the fact she uses Jake Ryan as like the name at the bottom. And when Maverick is like that whole scene where he's like, who's Jake Ryan? I need to know who this Jake Ryan is. He like gets very, very offended that she named this Jake Ryan person, but he doesn't know who it is. And she's
like, you don't know who Jake Ryan is?
And he like loses his shit because he really needs to know who this Jake Ryan is so he can beat him up. Because that is one thing about Maverick. So Maverick and her meet when they run into each other at the coffee shop and she spills coffee all over him. So he ends up getting this really tight pink t-shirt because there's nothing else for him to wear. And they have this moment and has like he's in love like from the get-go. Like he sees her, he's like he's done for her, he's calling her baby, like recognizes that like his behavior is like out of the like ordinary, but he needs this woman in his life.
But my favorite part of that interaction was she was not facing him when he was like, who is this woman? She was on the phone and she was talking
and spouting off math facts.
Yes. And that is what attracted him to her first. And I love that because she's smart and he appreciates that and loves that about her. And that was the first thing he noticed. It wasn't her beautiful hair or her beautiful eyes or her smile or her big boobs. It was her intelligence. And that is my favorite part.
Yeah. And like she's spouting off these random numbers. She's talking to a contractor like through like her work because she's an assistant, but she basically does all of the work for her boss, which they recognize right away and get rid of the smarmy boss right away. So that was nice. He's disgusting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love that part.
I did too. It was definitely like insta love for him, but not in like a weird, like quick novella, like not in a weird way. It wasn't
like that creepy.
No. And she was like really attracted to him, but has this whole self-conscious thing going. Like, why would he like me? Like I wear work boots and like jeans and long sleeve t-shirts. Like I'm not your typical beautiful chick.
No. And she has some hangups because of some stuff that happened at MIT. We're going to talk really vaguely about that because that is a key part of the story. So we don't want to give any of that away.
Correct.
But so she has some hangups about relationships in the first place. And there are a couple of things like when she, excuse me, when she walks into the meeting that he is like in charge of, where they're talking about this project they're working on, and she sees who he is, she is not happy.
She was like, it's one of those situations, if you've ever been in real life, where you're like, where is a hole that I want to crawl in, or 100%. I am going to just like leave. Like I need to move out of town level embarrassed.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's some things that happen in the meeting. And so she makes these assumptions of the type of person that he is because of the way things transpire. But there is a method to the madness of Maverick, and he explains it pretty quickly after that. And it makes sense. And you understand why he did what he did. And at times you want to like smack Bridget and be like, he is truthful. He is honest. Like, get your shit together. But then he does something really stupid.
Yeah,
But he does. But at the same time, you can understand why he does it, and it like endears you to him a little bit. But at the same time, you're like, you only had to tell one person, and it would have been okay.
Yeah. So I think he is. Yeah, I really like him. I think he is very like he's uptight and like, but then he's not. Like he's very serious about her from the get-go, but I feel like for being a billionaire who runs a huge company, to me he's kind of laid back too. Yeah. But then I feel like we kind of get this new perspective of him because his friends and his assistant are like, who is this? Like, what is happening to him?
Well, like you get this idea that he's this very type A personality and he likes control over certain things and he lives his life a certain way, and he doesn't have much of a social life. Like he is a little bit older. I think he was like late 30s, early 40s. I can't remember his exact age, but he's at a point where like he isn't going out and getting drunk all the time or getting laid all the time. Like he is living life like a normal 40-year-old. And so I think that's young. Part of, yeah, she is young. Like she's 21
or 22, but she's pretty young.
She's maybe 24. 20s.
But I think she's one of those, she's at that age where people think she should go out and do drinking and partying and
But
whatever.
she's not that type of
But she's
person.
not that girl. She's
Mm-mm.
just not. And I think that that's why they work so very well together.
Mhm.
And she's inexperienced and he's not.
Well, she's
So,
kind of inexperienced in life in a way too. Like
right.
she's not that she's a naive person, but like her parents passed away when she was little. Her older sister raised her. So it has just been the two of them for a really long time. And so she's not sheltered, but she hasn't really put herself out there and experienced a lot of life. And then like when things happened at college the way that they did, she kind of even shut herself down even more. But she has her sister who the sister comes off really brash and really prickly, and I kind of love her because I can be that kind of person. But her book is next, people. Just putting that out there right now.
Yeah, and I think Bridget is able to understand her sister and she tries because like you had said that her parents died. Her sister is a lot older. I think
Mhm.
she was in her early 20s when their parents died and Bridget was like 10 or something.
Mhm. Yeah, there's like
So
10 years between them.
so Lindy, the sister, pretty much had to give up her whole life so
Mhm.
she can raise her sister.
Yeah.
And I think Bridget understands that. And I definitely, um, Lindy has done and said some things where you're like, oh my God, girl, get a life. But I
Well,
think if you
and
put yourself in her shoes and her perspective, it makes sense. Like
mhm.
she's older, she's trying to she wants to move on with her life because she raised her sister.
Well, because they're both at this point where it's like Lindy's almost at a point now that like Bridget's old enough. Like Bridget is employed. Has her own apartment. No, she doesn't have an apartment. They
Mm-mm.
still live together. But
Yep.
but they're both kind of at this like crossroads of life because Lindy, like she doesn't have to take care of Bridget anymore. Like she can go out and live her life. And there are some things that happen, and like you feel bad for Bridget and the way that Lindy talks to her and treats her, but at the same time, like they have a couple real big moments where Lindy realizes like she made the wrong decisions and she's not as outwardly supportive as she should have been. But I mean, it's a learning curve for both of them
Well,
in
right,
figuring
because
out who they are like in this moment.
and there's that balance between like for a while Lindy was Bridget's
She
parent
was the parent, yeah.
and now she doesn't want to be the parent. She
Right.
wants to be the sister. And I
Well,
think
and it's hard to find that change.
how do you find that balance? But then each having their own life.
Hmm.
Also the brothers. Okay, so
The brothers are wonderful, wonderful and amazing.
Maverick is
Maverick
like
is one of four.
one of four, and his brothers are amazing.
Yeah,
They're all four very different. They
they
like
are.
Dex is a professional hockey player. He's sort of like your golden retriever, cinnamon roll,
Well, and he's the baby of the family too. So I think
Oh,
that like that makes a difference because he's the golden retriever, like frat boy puppy type character, but he also is the next book. So
and then uh
then we have Silas, who
Silas.
actually he and Maverick work together in the company. Like Silas
Mhm.
is the CEO and Maverick is something, or maybe Silas is the CFO and Maverick's the CEO, but the two of them work the company together. And then Theo, what does
Is
Theo
the
do?
doctor.
Theo's a doctor. He's kind of a stick in the mud.
He really is. And like very workaholic
Well, they all kind of are.
and Bridget's best friend,
Mallory is wonderful,
Mallory.
and I love
Oh my
her.
God. She sees a picture of Maverick and all of his brothers, and she's like, hi, he's hot. What's his name? And she's like, well, tell Theo I said hello. And Maverick is like, Theo's not really like that. And she's like, I don't care. Girl, I have major crush on him.
Yeah, just from
So
a picture, and she's like, I'm all over that. No, and that was one thing too. Like Bridget and Mallory, they're so different, but they have this like intense connection. They're ride
mhm.
or die. Like it is one of those things where like you love that for both of them, that they have that friend who is so different than them, but so similar at the same time. But the
Yes.
when the brothers first show up, so Bridget and Maverick are at his like apartment or wherever he's staying while he's in town. It might have been a hotel like suite or something like that. I
Oh
can't
no,
remember.
it's a giant like VRBO mansion thing.
Well, there we go. But so the brothers just show up and like eat all their takeout.
I know. And that was so funny when Vanessa, I love that part too. And like Vanessa has teenage boys,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, that's how it happens. Like, I'm not joking. If you want anything at our house, you have to put like a post-it on it. Like, I'm saving this for something, but
Yeah.
they'll just eat whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
But
It's
no, like that part was just so funny because I felt like it was the perfect way to introduce this group of characters who you almost like when you hear about their professions, you almost have this stereotype of what they're going to be like, and they weren't like that at all.
I
They
would
have little
totally agree.
things, but I'm really intrigued by that. And they have a great relationship, the four of them. Like you can tell they actually like each other and they like to hang out. And like these are four brothers who like they're very different, but they are truly really great friends. And I
And
just
yeah,
can't
they're
wait for
very
more.
different. Their dynamic is funny. Their banter is top notch,
Hmm.
top notch banter. So if you love banter, this book. And I will say, I always feel like Vanessa's book, like I love all of her books and I love all of her series, but I'm like, so why are we stopping the series? I feel like we have more. So I love that she said she was kind of leaving this like open ended.
Open-ended. Hmm. Well,
Love
and I
that.
think that's the thing, like it's not a super long book, or I feel
Mm-mm.
like it was like 230 pages, maybe. It wasn't super long, but it's a fast read. It's an easy read. And that's something too, like the timeline of the book, it's only about 4 or 5 weeks total from start to finish.
The timeline's very, very short.
It's very short, but it works and it makes sense. Like I have read books where the timeline is fast,
Yep.
like this, and it seems like we're just missing half of the story. And it's like,
Mhm.
wow, like it needed to be drawn out more. But the way in which this story plays out and the method in which she wrote this book, like I think a longer timeline would not have made sense.
Yeah, and this book did not it was a great fast read,
There,
amazing. I read
mhm,
this before Christmas and it's, like into January. I still love it.
mhm.
Really great, quick, fast read. And didn't like there was no lull. Like it wasn't drug out for
No,
no necessarily
there's no
reason.
filler. There was no filler
Mm-mm.
pages. Like every time a character was on a page, every time they were everything that happened in this book needed to be there. And honestly, like with it being the first book in the series and being a world building book such as it is, like you almost expected there to be more. But I didn't miss it because it was so engaging and so concise in the storytelling that I wanted more because I needed more from the story. Like I needed more Bridget, I needed more Dex, and like so much more Theo and Mallory because
So
I think those two are going to be together and it's just going to be so much fun. I
so
could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. That's just my theory.
the book ended and Becky and I were preparing for the happy
Happy
hour.
hour.
The book ended and I was like, oh my God. And I quickly got on Amazon and was like, when does book two come out? And I was like, no way. I cannot wait. I think it's like April. And I was
It's
like,
March. It is
I can't.
March.
Okay. I'm like, I can't wait that long. I told Vanessa, I was like, listen here, I can't wait that long. She was like, okay, well, I'm
Well,
still excited.
because she is a dirty tease.
Yes.
A dirty tease. So when you get to the end of the book, you get a chapter with Lindy and Dax and like their interaction. She hooks you in. She
So
hooks you. She's a
that
dirty tease.
the epilogue for people is not Maverick and Bridget.
No.
The epilogue is Dex and Lindy. So
Yeah.
I know some people have feelings about that, and I
Uh-huh.
think here it was amazing.
I
And
think
the reason
Mhm.
it was so amazing is because it makes you want more. And that is like, I think what every author wants, and that's what every reader wants. Like,
Mhm.
I want to be so engaged in a book that I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
I love these characters, and I love this town, and I love the stories that I know they're all going to give us. So I want it now. But
Yeah.
it's also kind of fun to wait too. It's like
Is it
Christmas
though?
when you're
Is
a
it
kid.
fun to wait? It's not really fun to wait, but we understand that the book is not written yet. So we have to wait and we get that.
Mhm.
But as somebody, as me personally, who likes that instant gratification and likes to binge a series, I don't like the wait, but I understand that it has to be there. But this book is just, it's so funny, and it's like you will laugh out loud. Like, not even
Mhm.
just saying that, you will laugh out loud. And Maverick
Yep.
unintentionally ends up with a dog, and that whole part is just
Oh, I know.
adorable and wonderful.
There are a lot of little
There's such
pieces.
sweet little moments in
Mhm.
this book.
There's a lot. And I feel like I don't want to say too much because I really want people to read it and enjoy it and
Mhm.
pick up on the little nuances. This is just a really great feel good romance.
Yeah.
It's pretty low angst.
Oh, it's very, yeah. I mean,
And
it's low angst. Like, even like their big issue, like it,
it's pretty low angst.
yeah, like it, a small conversation would have fixed it, but
Fixed it. But
he's a
he's a boy.
dumbass.
And Vanessa can write a nice steamy scene. So there are some pretty
Oh yeah, she doesn't
steamy
hold back.
encounters. No. So
Well,
enjoy,
because she
friend.
figured
Enjoy.
they're making out like real quick,
Yep.
real quick. But but then she leaves you hanging because it pops at 50%.
Right. But that's the full on. There was some other stuff.
Yes, there's some nice buildup.
Yeah.
So, do you have a book you think we should review for a quick shot of romance? If you do, send us an email at thebees@bookcaseandcoffee.com. Well, thank you, Heather, so much for joining me on this quick shot of romance. And until next time, happy reading, everybody.
Bye.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.